hearing. News 4's Ida Siegel in Marble Hill tonight with the growing calls for his release.
At Ellis Prep Academy tonight, shock from local parents and teachers, learning that a 20-year-old student here had been detained by ICE last week.
I just think it's devastating. You know, I am a mom. I have 3 kids. And I can't imagine, being separated from your child.
The arrest did not happen on school grounds, but rather after a scheduled court appearance in Manhattan, according to the Department of Homeland Security, which confirmed that Dylan Lopez Contreras, originally from Venezuela, was in their custody. Advocates reportedly say Dylan does not have a criminal record. Reaction around the city today.
Went for a check-in and is now detained without due process. They can't even find him. I mean, it is horrifying what is happening.
When asked about it at a news conference, Mayor Adams deferred to the federal government.
People should really understand that this was not in the school building. We don't know what was the outcome of the court case.
DHS says Dylan illegally entered the U.S. more than a year ago. ICE is now following the law and placing the illegal aliens in expedited removal, as they always should have been. The New York Legal Assistance Group is now representing Dylan and says that he entered the United States with permission to seek asylum. He works, goes to school, has friends, and was fully complying with immigration proceedings. All this does is disrupt communities. The school's chancellor said her heart breaks for the family and insisted it's safe for asylum-seeking children to continue to go to school. But others aren't so sure.
It's just really sad.
What happens next is not clear. Dylan's attorneys are fighting for him to stay in the U.S. The DHS said in its statement that any person who can prove a valid, credible fear claim can stay. If they cannot prove it, they'll be deported.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all had a great and wonderful day. Well, what we have here is the typical of, Democrats overreacting over nothing. And so we have to go over it, because apparently what we have here is Democrats are crying and raging about, how Nadler's DHS aide was, or not DHS aide, but his aide essentially just being detained. Nothing happened. Nothing crazy happened. She wasn't arrested. She was just detained. And, of course, you're going to have her cry and moan and bitch and all that kind of stuff about, being detained or whatever, which is nothing crazy actually happened. So, again, we have this a lot to go here. So, without further ado, here's the actual video here in question of, or not in question, but the actual video that the Democrats and Nadler himself are complaining about.
No, she did not. That is not what happened.
That is not what happened. Okay.
What?
Hold on a second.
Give me your contact information right now.
No, I'm going to give you time to speak to you.
Hey.
That's what I'm going to
Speak to
do.
you after.
We got you.
No.
I got you.
You're
okay.
I don't have to go.
You're okay. You're okay. You're going to be okay.
I'm a federal officer. We're here checking on something. We have the right to check it. I'm
Can I
giving
see a
you.
warrant?
I'm not resisting.
Stop resisting.
You harboring rioters in the office. So there was not a problem. Let's walk inside. Let's walk through.
For what?
Let me see what's in here. Let's go. Come on.
You need to stay in the
Hold it there.
away from me.
Hold it there.
Yeah, so as you can see here, we have it to where this person, where these people were allegedly plausibly harboring rioters, and all that DHS wanted to do was to check if they were harboring any rioters in their office in New York City, which is rightfully so. I mean, I don't see how this is much of an issue. I mean, you could do this to any other side, and you would see that this would not be necessarily an issue. You're detained, nothing happened, everything was good. But of course, the Democrats have to run to the news, right? They have to run to the media, because so that way they try to pay out their narrative. Of course, their narrative doesn't work very well because they're idiots, but this is what CNN has to do. So without further ado, guys, here's what Jerry Nadler has to say about this, and kind of like doesn't really do anything. He's not really doing anything, but he's just there to try to just peddle nonsense to the people.
When you have you have a situation you're also dealing with that I wanted to ask you about, of course. I'm going to play the video that we have obtained for our viewers while I describe the situation. This happened last week. Federal officers with DHS were seen going into your district office in New York. They handcuffed and detained one of your aides for a period of time. And according to DHS in the statement that they put out, it says that the agents entered because they were told protesters were in your office, and that they were concerned for the safety of her staff. When they arrived, the quote from DHS is, one individual became verbally confrontational and physically blocked access to the office, and the person was detained so the officers could conduct their check and then were released. What is your view of what happened?
Well, my view of what happened is outrageous. My first concern was for the safety of my staff member, and I didn't say anything. I decided to speak out after the DHS released their misleading and frankly lying story about what happened. DHS was upset that some of my staff members were watching them grab immigrants emerging from an immigration court in the same building, a floor below. And they were upset that my staff invited some of the observers up to my office. They then came up to the office and demanded entrance. One of my staff members said, "You can't come in here, you need a warrant." They said, "No, we don't need a warrant," which is incorrect. And they barged in, and in barging in, one of the officers, a very big, heavy-set fellow, pushed my aide, a very petite young woman, and they then said that she pushed back, and they shackled her and took her downstairs. And she was obviously traumatized. Now, the fact is that this was totally unacceptable. The tactics were totally unacceptable, and they needed the warrant. And my office is a congressional office. It's a completely separate branch of government, a co-equal branch of government with the executive for which they work, and they had no right to come in, and they had no right to disregard the co-equal branch of government, which is to say, Congress. So I am demanding, I'm asking for an investigation. I'm communicating with Jim Jordan, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, demanding an investigation of this incident, generally of ICE tactics, which are frankly very threatening to
Congressman, have you reached out to the Secretary? I mean, as you know, the ranking member in Judiciary, one of the senior member in the House, you have access to reaching out to the Department of Homeland Security in ways that, you know, an average individual does not. Have you reached out to the Secretary? Have you heard anything? Have you heard anything back?
No, I have not reached out yet. The young woman was after I showed up on the scene and spoke to the DHS people. They then unshackled her and let her go. So I felt no need to talk to the Secretary. Now, I do feel a need to have a congressional investigation, and that's why I'm asking Jim Jordan to hold an investigation, a hearing, a committee hearing, and to that committee hearing, I assume we'll invite the Secretary.
Notice what we see here, right? She says, like, "Oh, have you reached out to the Secretary?" Now it's like, "Oh, no, I haven't done that. I haven't reached out to her Secretary yet." It's like, "Oh, did you go to Jim Jordan?" Well, no, I have no writing for that. So he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done absolutely anything at all with this scenario, and it's just really curtailing. So all he's done is done absolutely nothing, and he's trying to paint a narrative, trying to say, like, "Oh, it's bad" or whatever. And we do know that the only reason why DHS was there was that they're under an investigation or wanted to check if this building was harboring any rioters, and that's all they want. The woman was detained. And we have this here as well, right? We have this here as well. We have from Politico, which we're only going to listen to a little bit here. It says, "It can't happen to anyone. Nally rebukes DHS after staffer detained in Manhattan office. The agency said the anti-vice staff member was not charged." So there we go. There's nothing should be at fault here, right? The staffer was not charged. Everything was good. Well, all dandy, right? Well, it goes on to say here that the officers with the Department of Homeland Security briefly detained a staff member in Representative Jerry Nadler's Manhattan office during an incident on Wednesday. as protests took place outside an immigration courthouse in the federal facility as a representative's office. The incident, first reported by the news outlet Gothamist on Friday, was captured on video. In the recording, a DHS officer can be heard saying that members of Nowler's staff were harboring rioters in their office, while another officer cuffs a crying staffer, which is very, very annoying because it's not that crazy. She's acting like she's going to go to jail. She's not going to jail. It was under investigation. It's like, so we don't even know what's going on here before that, too. Because for all we know, that woman was being rowdy or obnoxious or whatever, and all they're doing is just detaining her to just stop her from being rowdy or obnoxious. I mean, this is what the left does. And of course, it's another appeal to emotion. They're trying to make you appeal to an emotion to make you feel a certain way, so that way the DHS can get backlash for doing a simple job. Like, it's really annoying, and it's not working on me. I'm a federal officer. The DHS officer said to a second staff member in the video posted by Gothamist, adding, "We have the right to check the office." The second staff member, who can be seen initially blocking the officer's entry to a private area in the office, asked whether the officers had a warrant to search the space, to which the officer replied negatively. The staff members eventually acquiesced, allowing the officer to walk through the area. So, again, here's it goes on to say here that Nowler slammed both DHS and President Donald Trump in a statement Saturday afternoon for demonstrating aggressive, heavy-handed tactics and sowing chaos not only in his district but across the country as the Trump administration escalates its crackdown on immigration. So, again, that's what we have here, right? And here's the bigger issue of it all. So, notice how they say aggressive and heavy-handed tactics. Well, how heavy-handed tactics were you doing and aggressive when you were talking about the January 6ers? Because we had it to where you people were specifically going after January 6ers and arresting them when they have either no part of it or what have you, or putting horrible charges, or putting them in places where they shouldn't have been. You were doing the exact same thing. So when we see this here, where it's just very, very light, where they're asking just to walk through the building, see if they're harboring any people or what have you, then you're fine. It's like, if you're not guilty of a crime, then just show it to them, right? And if you're not doing that, then that's fine. And these Democrats and these people are losing their minds. They're going about whatever. It's like, it's crazy. It's really crazy. It's annoying and what have you. And they're trying to paint a narrative here, and it's just not working. I think the people are sick and tired of this. I know I'm sick and tired of it. So it is what it is, right? So again, Democrats are trying at every single metric to try to see what they can pull and what they can get here, and it's not working. And as we can see here, Nowler has done absolutely nothing. I mean, he says it so himself. It's just sad here, and it's just another ploy from the Democratic Party. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share. As always, take care, my friends.